Good afternoon. Today I will be interviewing my mom, Rebecca Rubin, on the attacks of September 11, 2001. Where were you the day of the attack?
I was at home in Ann Arbor. I was in grad school at the time, and I was getting ready for school, doing my normal routine, watching the Today Show. And I had a friend staying with me who had an interview that week and was leaving actually that day.
So what happened when you were watching the Today Show?
So we were watching the Today Show, and as we were watching, they started reporting that an airplane had hit the World Trade Center, the first tower. And it was a crazy story. So then the building was on fire, and we were all glued to the TV watching and unsure, thought probably it was an accident that an airplane unfortunately just ran into the World Trade Center. But as we were watching on live TV, the second plane hit the second World Trade Center, and then everyone started to wonder what was going on and if it was terrorism.
How old were you when this happened?
I was almost 30, a couple weeks from turning 30. No, I'm sorry, a month from turning 30.
Do you know anyone who was affected?
I do. One of my best friends from college, Lisa, was working in the World Financial Center, which was next door to the World Trade Center. And so when this was all over the news, and the buildings came crumbling down as we watched on television and realized the severity of the situation, I tried to call her and I couldn't get through to her. And I also have a cousin who worked in the World Trade Center. I wasn't as close with him, so I wasn't calling him personally, but he had some serious repercussions from the incident and has post-traumatic stress disorder because of it, because he got out of the buildings alive, but it was a very scary situation.
What was it like the week after?
Well, so that day was very strange. They shut down all the airports. There were no airplanes flying anywhere, and so no one could get anywhere. So the girl that was staying with me couldn't get home for about 5-6 days. And your dad was in Colorado, so he also couldn't get home for many days until they finally decided to rent a van and drive home from Colorado. And so it was very eerie with no airplanes. It was really bizarre looking up into the sky and never seeing an airplane for like a week, at least a week. And school was closed, businesses were closed, and it's really all anybody could talk about. It was a very scary time.
How long were you away from school or grad school?
I can't remember, but they probably closed school for a couple days. It wasn't that big of a deal for school, but it was mostly for travel was the problem.
How did 9/11 affect you?
You know what? It just raised an awareness of the terrorist possibilities in our country. There were actually a lot of people from my graduating class of the University of Michigan who perished in the attacks. A lot of them worked for a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, which was on one of the top floors, I think very close to where the plane crashed. And we heard lots of stories of the people that worked there that tried to escape and called their loved ones and did not end up getting away. And their names are all over the memorial, which we visited together in New York. And, they were all around my age. So it was a really eye-opening and sad experience.
Do you feel that it changed you as a person?
Sure. I think it changed everyone. I think it really did. Even just with travel now, I remember going through the airport, and I was very pregnant with you, and I had to take my boards, my orthodontic boards, and I took my boards, and then I was in a wedding, so I had all this luggage. I was really pregnant, about 7 or 8 months pregnant, which you really shouldn't travel at that time, but I was in a wedding, one of my best friend's weddings, and in the airport, on the way to Philadelphia, where I was taking the exam, I was allowed to have 2 bags. And then something happened in the interim, some kind of terrorist attack somewhere, and it raised the alert. So then going from Philadelphia to Boston, I was only allowed to have one bag. And I was pregnant and stressed from my boards, and I was at the security, and they told me I couldn't have all these bags, and I broke down in tears, and it was just a very stressful time, and we figured it out, and I wrapped one bag in another bag, and it was complicated, but it just affected everyone in those small ways.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
Well, you're welcome.